Hello and welcome to this CCB video blog. This one's a suggestion from a fellow YouTuber, my friend Hands On Fishing.
What's up, Fish Nation?
Now he's got a really good channel, does some really good videos, and I will be leaving his link in the description below so you guys can go check him out. But he just started using the Flick Shake, Flickin', Weighted Wacky. I call it Flick in this video, but now I guess it's called the Flick Shake technique. But he just started using it and he wanted to know if I would do a tips and tricks on it. He wanted to know, my thoughts on it. Well, I had already done this because I've been fishing it since I learned about it back in 2010. This video is not as old as some of my other ones. This one's from 7 years ago. But this is the same exact advice, and if I redid this as new, I'd be telling you the same thing. I catch a lot of fish on this technique, and well, here it is.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Tips and Tricks. Now today I'm going to be talking about how to catch more bass flicking. Now flicking is putting usually a stick type bait, it's one of our gotcha sticks 4-inch, on a jig head that actually has the weight attached to it. I've been fishing a lot, pinto. Right now it probably catches me 90% of my fish, they're just on this bite, and I've sort of honed it down and learned a lot about it, so I figured I'd do a tip and tricks, let you guys know the basics of how to catch a lot of bass flicking. First off is the weight size. Like I said, this is our own Flickem jig head. It's got a 60-degree angle, the weight's right up against it, #1 must add. We just offered these for sale. But a lot of it has to do with the weight compared to the size of the bait. This is our 4-inch gotcha stick. I have it on the 1/8 ounce. I've even gone down to a little dropping stick on the 16 ounce. I mean, it's a dropping stick. I use it on drop shot. People do it wacky on drop shot. But one day, just kind of for fun, I threw it on our little 16 ounce flicking it, and it actually looks like there's more hardware than bait. But this is my #1 go-to bait now. I mean, this little teeny 3-inch on the 16 ounce flicking catches me so much fish and good keepers. And follow suit, we also have it in a 3/16. When we go to our 5 1/4 inch gotcha stick, we choose the 3/16 for the most part. Like I said, we have them in 1/16, 1/8, 3/16. The smaller the weight, the smaller the bait. That's just sort of the premise of this whole thing. It just gives it better action, a better fall. It's a little bit probably heavy for what bait you're using, but it just seems to work. It gives it a better action, it falls better, it wiggles. When you work it, you can feel it better. And well, talking about the action, I use actually, and this is another key thing, I use a medium action rod. And I learned this from a pro when I was co-angler at the Delta a few years ago, and he was using a medium heavy, a stiff rod. He was flicking, he had like a 6-inch, I don't know if it was a Senko or not, 6-inch stick bait. He lost half of the fish that he hooked. And since I've been honing this down and working on this, I've only lost 1% of the fish I've hooked when I've been flicking our gotcha sticks. That's because I'm using a medium action. This thing has a really flimsy tip, pretty much think a rod you'd use for drop shot. Something that's really flimsy. That's because these things have a really small hook on them. And if you have something and you react and you pull and it's really stiff, it pulls it forward really quick. With this thing, there's a little more drag. It's a really flimsy. It doesn't really catch till about 2.5 feet down. And that softness gets it to start. And then when it hits things, it lodges in it. It just doesn't launch it forward in the bass's mouth. So first off, medium action, really light, whippy tip when you're flicking, if you want to catch a lot more bass on it. And then, well, the action. Evidently, I called it our slap in the slack, what I like to do on weightless and near weightless plastics. But evidently, everybody that sees me fishing this, they go, "Oh, are you catching them on a shaky head?" So evidently, you work it like you would a shaky head. I mean, I'm kind of doing the slap in the slack thing, just kind of bouncing it, But people don't know. They come by and go, oh, are they on a shaky head bite? I'm all, I don't know, I'm flicking. But evidently that's sort of the action I give it when I work it. So there you go, some of the basics. The lighter the jig head, the smaller the bait. It's actually probably a little bit too big for the size of bait. You want it to be just a little big, like the 1/8 for the 4, the 3/16 for a 5, 5 1/4, maybe even bigger if you go to a 6-inch or 7-inch type of stick bait. But yeah, there you go. Just some of the basics of how to catch more bass flicking. I hope this helps. Until next time. Green pumpkin, blue. A little trick I learned from my pro Jason yesterday. This is the second one. I just had another one jumped off and I picked up the rod. How long ago? A minute? 5 minutes. And this one, the other one jumped off. Next cast I got this one. So I think I found my reaction. Alright, I'm going to try and get another one. See, they're stacked up out on this thing.
That was terrific! Great, yeah! Best bait so far! Fantastic! Yeah, it's really great! Really, yeah.